10,
9, 8,
7,
6,
3, 2,
1.
0.
What's up, Dash League, Draft League, Hyperdash players, non-Hyperdash players? Everybody's welcome here with your two favorite casters. I'm Notgollum.
And I'm Willow.
And today we've got BB Board Bias versus X, which I believe might be a lot of X-Onyx players, along with several others that were drafted onto that team. Is that right?
For sure. I mean, that's what it seems like. Castle got to draft his entire team and didn't do it lightly. Castle got a bunch of really solid players over on that team, but it looks like a lot of them aren't able to show up right now. Castle only getting 4 players currently, which might get updated here in a minute, that they might get a 5th, but I remember hearing that this was possibly going to be a 4v4, but looking as one team has 5 in right now, who knows how that's going to go.
It seems like Board Bias might have just dropped a player, so that could be what we're going for today. Some of the Draft League teams have been, or some of the Draft League matches rather, have been 4v4 matches, and those have been very exciting to watch, very interesting, because the way that you play Payload especially, not just Domination, but Payload especially, with only 4 players, is wildly different when you have a 5th. The way that you set up holds and push forward and how many you can dedicate to pushing ahead or trying to stop a cart at any given moment. All these decisions are wildly changed by that addition or subtraction of a 5th player. So hopefully both teams are going to be able to get 5. That would be really fun to see, but I wouldn't complain about a 4v4 here, honestly, especially with the players we got in the lobby here. Castle and Odd. I believe, is Odd one of the captains for Board Bias?
Yeah, I believe Odd is both captain and drafted that entire team. And then, yeah, I mean, as the name BB suggests, he got a bunch of the board members, which, both, but, it's kind of a funny joke, but they're very solid players. I mean, Dazzler's up and coming, not a board member, but very good. But Style Dev is an amazing player, amazing shock player, and then Lateralis, too, is known as, kind of one of the best players in the league. Maybe top 30, 20, who knows. They're all very solid players over on that side, and especially if they get 5, I mean, that's going to be an absolutely huge advantage. It doesn't matter how good of a team Castle can bring. A 4v5 is a huge disadvantage. And especially for the payloads, where you got to be very coordinated and stick together. And then on the waterways, it's really hard because you have to be very spread out on the waterway. Everyone has to kind of pull their own weight, and when you have one less person to pull weight, then that goes to everyone else to make sure that they're getting kills and pressing buttons and everything, especially since waterway is such a dominated by kills. Speaking of the maps here, I'll just pull them up so everyone can see. We've got, as I mentioned, we've got Launchpad, Waterway, and then Stadium. I believe every draft team has to play these maps for their first match. I'm not entirely sure how that goes, but that's what we're playing today.
Yeah, different from the Dash League way that the maps are all set up by the captains discussing with each other, and they all choose servers and all that. There's a lot more flexibility and input, but sometimes a little bit more frustration on the half of captains trying to figure out all these maps. So in Draft League, everything is completely predetermined, especially when you have the uncertainty of trying to play with all these players you may not have seen or even talked to before sometimes, just based on how the drafting goes.
Yeah.
Although, that said, it looks like both teams have managed to get all 5 players, which is great to see. Getting Classic Scout in here, who was also on Team Onyx. For those who don't know, 2 seasons ago at this point, Onyx was a very solid team, captained by Castle, that made it very high up in the league in a very short amount of time, and then, like the brightest stars that burn the shortest, it dissolved, and most of these players went to different teams, but now some of them are meeting up back together along with these new players they've drafted and trying something out. So I'm excited to see how this match goes then, once all the discussions are in place and everyone's ready to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. They both, gosh, this team Onyx, kind of Onyx Light or Onyx again, definitely really solid. Board bias, a lot of people on here that I really like to see. I think board bias BB might be able to bring some interesting strategies here. Odd is kind of known as the main strategist over on Arc. Arc being, a top 3 team for all of Dash League for a very long time. And some of these players have some really unique abilities. I liked that Odd picked up people who aren't just good at pistols. Onyx, a very strong team. They came in and they absolutely dominated when they joined the league. But a lot of them were only proficient with pistols and maybe rockets. Meanwhile, we see over on BB's side, we see that, like I was saying, Style, he's really good with shocks. Brackers, I believe, also is really good with explosives. Dazzla is decently new to the game, but already up here to level 60 and is probably proficient with multiple weapons, as I know that I've been talking to him about, not just using pistols. Good Dazzla, a good friend of mine. And then Odd himself does main pistols, but is capable of other weapons. And so I do kind of hope that we see some interesting pickups over on BB's side, and that maybe that can lead to some interesting strategies coming both from Odd and from those playstyles combined.
And since you're talking about strategy, one thing I only realized just now is that both Odd and Castle are captains of the same team in the normal Dash League, the Team Arc. So there might be a little bit of mind games going on. If both teams aren't just going into this with like, we'll just try and win the game, we'll just see what we can do. If there's mind games going on in the background of like, oh, maybe Castle is going to try and do this thing, and Castle's like, Odd's probably going to try this thing with his team, that based on the normal Arc strategy, it would be funny to see if they end up just completely countering each other based on that shared knowledge.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't even consider, that I think it is really funny, and you bring up a good point with that. Yeah, I mean, these players know each other. They've worked with each other a lot, and I have a feeling that we'll see a little bit of, kind of friendly bad blood between the two. Maybe Odd will get a nice cheeky kill on Castle and vice versa, and
something up off the floor.
Yeah. Throwing their hands up in victory, like, get Castle out of here. But looks like teams are just about getting ready to go here. They're messing up a fist bump over there between Moist and Dazzla.
There we go. That's the connection that we want to see. We've got 9 out of 10 players in the central lobby here. We're just waiting for the host to start it up, and then we'll get going.
Oh, and here we go. X versus BB. Let's go. Dash League.
Draft League.
Draft League. You're right. Draft League.
You got to stay updated with the times. This is new stuff here. Looks like Castle's opening up towards the front. Really important. I always emphasize this with Dash League and Draft League matches, that the opener is a very important signifier to how a lot of the rest of the match is going to go. If Red Team is able to keep players in the starting zone for an extended period of time, any amount of time really, that's a great sign for how they're going to be able to hold later on, since Blue is such a huge spawn advantage.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Castle. Amazing dashing. Very quick, very efficient too. Going to be hitting the cart, hopefully with some other teammates. Unfortunately, can't make his way there because he saw someone behind the shield who's waiting for him. Almost got him. Style, good follow-up.
Oh, nice. They're getting some clears here, but it looks like we still see 3. Oh, now 2 red into blue spawn. Now only 1 red left. This is exactly what blue wants to see, and that's a clear. So now BB blue team is going to be pushing out and trying to take some space, take those engagements far away from the cart. It looks like we see 1 red, if you look down on the little mini-map there, sneaks into the enemy's base, but Style Dev all the way up here in their spawn, disrupting, switching it around, getting a nice little kill there. Usually you see red and blue spawn, not the opposite. So Style's out here doing some work, getting a kill on Classic. That's a huge kill. Classic, amazing player. And now look at how clogged up the red team is. They're all in their own spawn, and they're trying to push out together, which this might have caused a natural group up. Style may have just killed enough of them that now they're all together and they can get a really good push onto that cart. Looks like Castle does end up taking it out, gets a double kill. I think that's 3 kills total here by Castle alone, and now his team is coming to join him. Oh, nice. Gets another kill.
After that absolutely disrespectful play by Style Dev, Castle is really turned on. You can see he was moving and grooving really quickly. He was getting a lot of quick kills there on the cart and kind of gave his team the breathing room they needed to catch up. But now Blue has the breathing room they need to be able to stack the cart, which is exactly what they're doing. They know they have the space, and they know they need to take every advantage that they can, because once Castle gets back, only players like Odd Leviathan can really consistently try and take him out, it seems. Blue has a really solid hold so far. Red is really struggling to get anything done here. It's unfortunate to see. They've really got to group up. You don't see that super often so early on, Red having to group up, but that's about the only way I can see them making past this point here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that they're definitely feeling a little uncomfortable with how much time this cart is making right now. I mean, I guess it is only at the bottom of the hill here at about, what, 3:55? So that's about league average. Usually you want to be at the bottom of the hill with 4 minutes left as blue team. Dazzler getting some nice little cheeky cart movement here, followed up by Oogie Boogie, gets taken out. That's a fun name to say. And nice rockets take that cart out. You know, even though we've seen so much spawn camping over on the red side, and so much movement, blue team is actually making pretty decent pace right here, but not absolutely amazing. We see some nice shocks here that get taken out by Snarples there, but we might see some nice movement here. Something interesting over on this blue side is that they're not exactly grouping up. They're not getting these huge groups where they put all 5 people together. They're getting some nice few people together, and then they push in together, and they get a couple kills, and that's all you need to do. It seems, because they're getting some nice movement here and getting some nice kills on red. The only thing they really got to worry about is those rockets.
Good kill by Castle, stopping Odd Leviathan's push forward, and the rest of his teammates able to clear that cart. Now Red has solid control. I also like to see them stacking a player on the cart when possible. You can see up at the top that Red is a player on the cart. That makes it so the cart can't move forward. Blue got a decent clear and is also pushing forward, giving Abrackers the chance to move the cart almost around this final bend and towards the checkpoint. Castle tries to take him out. Couldn't do it. Good rockets, though. Those rockets were clutch. Following up there, gets that 3rd kill. Can they get a 4th clear on the cart? It looks like Red has solid control at this point. They just need to control that house where Blue is trying to leave through so that they can make it to the cart. This is a great time to be using shocks, which is exactly what Abrackers is doing in order to clear it so that Red can't stack on cart. And now Blue is moving forward, 37%. Oh, looks like X got control once again, but it's a tentative control at best. Castle trying to move into the house, give space for his team to set up, take a little breather. Castle now taken out. Dazzle moving through shield room with the shield. He's going to stack on cart and try and protect himself with the shield while presumably Abrackers hits it with shocks or someone else. They're almost through the checkpoint. That's it. 2 minutes
nice
left and they
checkpoint.
made it through the checkpoint. And now they're in the second half of the map. Spawns change. And Red is having a very difficult time.
Jeez.
Rest in peace, Gummy Bear.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great time to make a checkpoint. You know, they at the bottom of the hill, they made it at about average, but now we see that they're absolutely dominating, making that checkpoint with 2 minutes left. You know, Red is stressing. X is stressing a little bit. This is going to be hard to beat, making checkpoint that much time. But the post-checkpoint is very different than the pre-checkpoint. A lot of teams have really mastered this pre-checkpoint, but once it gets past this checkpoint, the strategies kind of change. The how the map is and how it's shaped and what you want to be doing changes a lot. And so it's very possible that these teams are going to, struggle to make as good of time as they did pre-checkpoint for post-checkpoint.
Something I'm really liking here from the entirety of Team Board Bias is their focus on the cart and their ability to, for everyone on this team really, to stop what they're doing and move to the objective when it's needed. I mean, we saw that earlier with Odd. He had dashes. He was going to move forward, but he saw that there were no teammates on the cart. He knew the objective is the most important thing. Everything else doesn't matter if that objective doesn't move forward. He moved back. He sacrificed himself to get the cart forward. And unfortunately, Red was able to set up a hold, but that's just a general testament to Red's skill and being able to move forward all at once, because you saw they kind of closed in like a net. Red just moving in all at once. I don't like this movement on the main rail, though. For those not aware, moving through triangle generally out of Red spawn is faster and it's safer. You have a lot more cover. So that kind of gives Blue some of the chance that they need to be able to set up around cart normally if Red takes too long getting there after respawning, which is exactly what we're seeing now. Just the respawn timer, the distance to get to the cart, it takes way too long, and Blue has solid control.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is something that we're kind of seeing a lot of this post-checkpoint, since it's a lot more open and a bigger side of the map than pre-checkpoint. A lot of these people are riding the main rail. Like that, look at Snarples riding on the rail, tries to get a cheeky little rocket, but it just barely misses. But we see a lot of main rail movement here. And once you kind of get to the higher levels, the rails are a lot more dangerous, and people tend to not want to take them as much. But whether it's confidence or strategy or who knows, but these teams do seem to be taking the rails a lot. Style getting taken out after a beautiful little jump pattern there. We do see that X is getting a pretty nice hold here, and this is not a spot that you usually see teams get a hold. Usually the cart is further up the hill or fully up the hill and forward a few more percent when you start seeing a hold. This area, there's a lot of doorways, there's a lot of angles that you can hold. This is one of the more interesting parts of the map, in my opinion, and so holds can be really, really hard to break here. And we see that the cart is even stopping a little bit earlier than you'd expect, and the cart's been stopped for, what, almost a minute now?
Yeah, what's going on in Blue's spawn right now? Did someone move forward? Did Castle move forward, a Gummy Bear, and just clear house? That must be what's happening there. Good kill by Oogie Boogie, though. Right in the cart, Castle trying to take him out. Doesn't have the dashes to be able to get a good angle, though. His teammate falls up behind, but there's just too many Blue players left around, and now the spawns are slowly getting in favor of Red team, though not quite yet. That's why Blue still has solid control here. Red hasn't quite been able to follow up fast enough to get a clean wipe. Good headshot by Odd. He's taken up by Gummy Bear, who's now near the cart. Tries to get some stoppage, but Blue still has control here. They need to get as much movement as they can and keep this advantage for as long as they can, because Red will start having that spawn advantage very soon. I like that quick rocket by Snarples, though.
Whew. Yeah, everything's going great here, yeah, so far. It's nice that X is able to make up some of that time, with such an amazing pre-checkpoint by BB. Oh, nice rocket there. That was nasty.
Was threading the needle. The cart's still under the bridge, but you saw that. He curved between the bridge and the cart, and he got a solid kill there. That was nice. Yeah. If Snarples ever gets the chance to get rockets, if Blue makes the mistake of letting him set up with rockets over in the bunker that you can see ahead of the cart, that's going to be a really tough time for Blue. They're going to start having to push the Rocketeer and the cart.
Dang, Dazzler getting a couple kills there, getting the cart moving. Oh, man, sorry to interrupt, but, man, that was an impressive kill by Dazzler right there to keep this cart moving. We see some really nice movement over on VV's side, getting shut down a little bit, but 3 minutes at the 85%, 85, 86, 87, that kind of general range is where you'd expect the cart to end up for two completely equal teams. That's what we see a lot in the league. It's kind of considered like the golden 86% or so. And we see that with 3 minutes left and they're already almost at that 86%, it's looking really strong for BB right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Red has the space to move forward with players like Moist to try and disrupt BV's group ups, but Odd not going to let that happen. That was a good kill there, and now 5 out of 5 BB players are together. Odd has the dash. No, someone else has the dash. Stole it from him. Good kill on Gummy Bear there. He's just waiting for his teammates, making sure that all of Blue is ready to move in together, because with such a spawn disadvantage, that's what they need. They have to all move in at once, and you can see with that fast dashing that Odd is doing, he's made it all the way to the cart, maybe even snuck behind some of the Red players. I think that's exactly what happened. Red, a little bit overextended, now has to backtrack towards the cart, which is currently moving. A lot of them were respawning too. Blue still has players grouped up in that first zone. Red is trying to regain some of that ground that they lost. They are now out front of Triangle Room. Gummy Bear trying to make a move down High Rail once again. On the lookout for Odd Leviathan once again. Is he going to get the kill on him? Sneaks up behind him, but Odd is just too fast. Good follow-up by Oogie Boogie. And now the rest of BB is moving forward slowly but surely. But is this going to be fast enough to be able to make it to the cart? Are they just waiting for Red Team to respawn so they can team wipe them twice and then move forward? It seems a little bit lagging behind, rather. A lot of the Blue team is lagging behind. There's individual players rushing forward and trying to get some micro pushes, but not quite enough follow-up at this point. Brackets with the double shocks, that's good to see. Getting some good movement on the cart right now. Red team was a little bit distracted. Oh, good follow-up by Gummy Bear, though, and it looks like Red team almost has control once again. It's just Oogie Boogie left. As soon as Blue gets around that corner, that is going to be a good sign for them, since they'll have protection from Red spawn. That's the check mark I'm looking for.
That's what you want to see. Yeah, I mean, after all that, I mean, it's been 2 minutes and all that grouping up and all that pushing and all that, chaos that we saw, and they've only made it to that 87%. So that 87% really is strong. It's hard to beat. But like Gollum was saying, if they can get on this cart and they can round this corner here to the left, Here, let me get out of POV zone. If they can round this corner where the shield is facing forward, the shield will face the red team spawn, and they will have a lot more protection. It'll be a lot easier to push for blue team. Because right now, while they're on the cart, they're completely exposed. They're belly up, just trying to get the thing moving. But if they can round that corner, they get a lot more percent for a lot less effort. But I don't know. It's not looking like they might be able to do it. I mean, they're still stuck at 87%. They've been stuck here for a while, and they only have 20 more seconds. They're really running out of time.
You saw that last push there. All of them were ready. All of them came in, but they didn't go in all at once. They came in like different sections of a caterpillar, one after another, and all of red team who was together was able to fight them one player at a time, just straight into the meat grinder that is the cart. And now X gets to hold at 87%. At about the high end of that standard that you expect, and you can see why it's the standard. Being able to peek from red's second spawn and shoot the cart immediately out of there makes it really difficult for blue to get any solid movement. Let's see if X's groups and group pushes in this pre-checkpoint are going to be as good as BB's were.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have warmed up after that beginning. We definitely saw BB absolutely dominating at first, but it seems like X really got their stuff together at that last, 5 or so minutes. Now they're all warmed up. They're ready to go. Like we saw Gollum talking about last time, this opener is really important. Blue wants to clear red out as quickly as possible to get that cart moving. And we saw that red was cleared out pretty fast last time before the colors had switched. So now that they're switched over, I'm very curious to see how it's going to go. We see, right now things are kind of even. People dancing around. I think each side got 2 kills, which is pretty good for blue team. And odd goes down over on red. So I think there's only... only a couple red players trying to just push forward towards the cart, but it looks like they've already cleared out their spawn and are pushing out. This is a really good opener by X right now.
Yeah, Oogie Boogie getting that last clear. Oh no, but there's one other player. Castle is now shown back up to the fight and is going to try to solo hold for a second here while the rest of his teammates catch up. Style Dev putting a stop to that, trying to peek just outside of shield room. The cart is starting to round that corner where the high ledge of shield room becomes a little bit of a risk factor for blue team, for X, and Dazzler is snuck behind BB's spawn and tries to get a kill on his own teammate.
Then gets taken out.
Classic Scout follows up. That was funny. It looks like the cart's been stopped for a little while, actually. We've had a little bit of stoppage here. X is trying to double stack to make up for some of the time that they've lost, but there's still players like Style Dev left in the house, causing chaos and mayhem, and the rest of BB's team is able to follow up after just a little bit of distraction like that. The spawns are very far away, but not nearly as far away from each other as in the post-checkpoint section. Red still has a decent opportunity to make it towards the cart, which is now reaching the top of the hill here. Dazzler trying to sneak behind. Classic Scout not letting it happen. X has been very good at making sure that this shield room is under control and that the only approach BB has is down the main rail. And Castle's been very good at locking down that main rail. I liked that shielding on the cart, though. That's not something you see every day, Willow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially as red. I mean, I like seeing shields anywhere they come up. Shields are kind of not really used as much in League as you'd kind of expect. Some people really don't like them. Some people hold them upside down to try to get a better view. Oh, abandoning the cart there. Blue team trying to push forward possibly to get some explosives, but Moist doing a nice follow-up. And now we see that both teams make it to the bottom hill at 3:55. That's pretty much exactly the same time. So where we saw BB really dominate was right here. Right about now was when they started stacking, making great time. It only took them 2 minutes, probably less than, to go up to that checkpoint and make it. And now we see that X is kind of following suit, getting some really nice time, getting some nice stackage, but gets taken out by the cart there. They've only got about, a minute and a half if they want to make the same time that BB had. But they're doing a pretty good job right now. They just really got to focus on those explosives. We see 2 different explosives coming from red side, Oogie Boogie with the rockets, and I think I also saw shocks coming from red side blowing towards the cart, which is really stressful. If you're a blue team, you have to take out those rockets before anything else. You cannot get that cart moving. You cannot stack it if there are rockets up.
Yeah, and Oogie Boogie's done a very good job at watching his back when necessary and taking shots at the cart when he can. Unfortunately, he had no other teammates behind him, and he gets taken out. Now those rockets are going to take 10 or 15 seconds to really get set up once again. Although it looks like BB got a good clear on X, and now they have that opportunity. Oogie Boogie able to set up with at least 1 rocket, which won't guarantee quite as many kills as double rockets can, but at least they have that and the shocks, which they've been doubling up with a lot. Good focus by Castle on trying to pressure the Rockets, make sure they can't hit the cart so his teammate can get movement there. Unfortunately, there's only Gummy Bear left at this point, and Red has been good about stacking on the cart. Though we see we're almost at the checkpoint. This is basically exactly the same time. Both teams have been very good about pushing the cart consistently at this pre-checkpoint, and both teams have struggled on Red team to get consistent stoppage with team pushes. Like the car is just flowing and flowing until it reaches this last corner, and by this point the car's almost guaranteed to make it through the checkpoint there. Odd trying to get set up with another rocket. Unfortunately, he was just a bit out of place, and now that's checkpoint.
Oh,
That's it. With almost the exact same time too, with 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it really looked like BB was going to dominate at the beginning of the last round, but now, I mean, these teams are looking more and more even the more time that goes. Whether it's because they pulled out some last-minute strategies, they're just warmed up, or because they just got in the headspace. You know, they said, I'm not losing today, and they're getting some serious movement. But either way, you know, I like to see it. I like to see that X is putting up a really good fight here. Almost gets cart taken out, but Gummy Bear getting a nice kill on him. Styles following up, gets taken out again. Man, we're seeing some beautiful cart movement here. Not only cart movement, abandoning the cart a little bit to get some dash. I hope someone replaced him.
Yeah,
it looks like yep, someone is on. Yeah,
looks like
for
they
sure.
did.
That's good. That's good communication to be on cart and get off the second someone else gets onto it, so that you perfectly keep the cart moving at all times. This is something that a lot of teams really struggle with. It's really hard to do. It takes a lot of communication to be able to keep that moving. But every second that you're not riding that cart, you know, if you get off to get health or a dash or go to get a kill, you know, those are seconds that aren't doing the objective, and the objective is all that matters. And both of these teams have been super objective focused. We've seen Style doing a great job of getting a flank, trying to take out the cart from behind. We've seen Odd do a great job of blasting forward, keeping the people off of his cart. And we've seen that X here has been doing a great job of stacking, although Abracker's getting nice double shucks. Just as I was talking about, those explosives coming from Red side is just amazing, and I love to see it, and I think this is really keeping the strategy good. We see that Red is keeping an amazing hold even further back than was when the spawns were flipped, when the colors were flipped. And so we're seeing, you know, both of these teams are playing very similarly, at least in terms of how the percentage is going and the time is working out.
Yeah. And I'd like to say earlier, Snarples was on a tear, making space for Team X until StyleDev took him out and then set up with the shocks and then ate up a lot of X's time moving up that hill. And now we're at 6 minutes left. I think the time is still a little bit better for X right now than it was for BB at this point in the map. They're still semi-consistently moving the cart. They're trying to get micro pushes as much as possible. And BB is struggling to set up with explosives and also give those explosives space to do work on the cart. And now there's players like Snarples being the last one left over, able to get free movement because nobody on either team is left alive. Castle trying to tear his way forward, gets one kill, gets taken up by Odd. Gummy Bear takes him out. This is just a trades back and forth, but always an advantage of X. X is always set up with the last man standing because they get that one kill advantage like Classic Scout got just now, and now X is able to completely set up. What is happening in Red Spawn right now? Are they being spawn camped? I mean, where are they? There's two players there on the bridge. Moist is moving forward, and the cart is finally completely stopped, but I think some blue players are still going to have the opportunity to catch up with Moist set up where he is, distracting so many players.
That was a nice dodge by him too. It does ultimately get taken out though. This is a nice little hold here. I think again we saw before the cart was held here back when it was BB as blue. But that was an amazing counter by Oogie Boogie there, or really just all of BB. X had a really good group up, and it looks like they all got taken out. Odd pushing forward a little bit, holding the shield with the shield room. This is interesting. Pistol shield combo, not something you see very often. Again, this cart focus, what we're seeing from both these teams. Odd, possibly one of the best killers over on his team, and he's grabbing a shield and he's sitting on the cart. That's how much they really want this to shut down, to get as little movement as possible. And I think this shows really good coordination from both teams.
Yeah, good slight movement by Castle there. We're at 4 minutes left, 78%. At this point, X needs to make it another 9% really to catch up to where BB was. And honestly, at this rate, I don't think it's looking good for X. Just based on the rate that they were flowing down main rail earlier, and the rate that BB was pushing that cart down this section of the map, they were a little bit further on, and they still had 4 minutes left. and this is going to be a very difficult several pushes in a row for X. BB has just been too good about setting back up, recovering after getting wiped, and making sure that they're all there together and that they can really make a hold set up as quickly as possible. I also like these sneaky positions by players like Dazzler. Definitely been watching and learning from a lot of the other pro games where players are setting up in this little corner here. It looks like StyleDev wanted to join him for a few seconds. Hopefully X is going to clear him out and not expect him to move somewhere, because Dazzler just doesn't feel the need to go anywhere else. He can see the cart, he can see the rockets, he can see the bridge where players always go to. Let's see if he gets called out here. I'm really interested to see if he ever has to move. Because the cart has not been moving at all for the past minute. It's been stuck at this corner.
Right.
And BB has had the chance to look down this main rail. This is a strong position, Willow.
It works again.
He got him again.
I'd get off and go watch someone else more interesting, but I'm just so invested in the Dazzler corner right here, who's just been, I mean, he shot Castle in the back. Castle, he's great about callouts. You know that Castle called it out, but it doesn't matter because Daz is here on like a 6-kill streak, just sitting in this corner with low health. I mean, this is incredible. He kills Classic, he kills Gummy in the back, he kills Castle in the back, sees someone in his spawn, doesn't get a kill, but it doesn't matter. He's going to stay in the same position. Man, and yeah, I think you put it perfectly that, you know, the other team, they had some more time, they had some more consistency rolling here. X really has not gotten any cart movement for the past 2 minutes straight. Shoots him in the back again!
Again!
Yes! Come
He
on!
just doesn't have to move. No one is making him move. That's more kills. Daz is backed up to like 8 or something at this point. Man, is he ever going to grab health, or is he just going to live there? Gets another kill on Gummy Bear. This is just the strongest position I've ever seen. Everyone should be... Okay, there we go. Moist finally takes him out. Finally turning around on the bridge. He's like, enough of this. And you saw the team was finally able to push forward once they took out that position. That is surprisingly strong if it never gets checked. It's just so out of the way visually.
For sure.
And we'll see if anyone on BB is going to set up there once again. But at this point, they're kind of focused on trying to keep the card up. It looks like X is going to be checking that corner every single time they push forward from now on. That was ridiculous, but amazing. I loved seeing that.
Yes.
I also love seeing BB setting up on the cart. It looks like Dazzler or somebody is set up around a pillar behind the cart too, trying to get some kills. Unfortunately, it gets taken out, and now X has some solid movement forward. Only a minute left to make it. A couple
2%,
percent here.
yeah.
2%, yeah, but it's a long 2% here because they're almost peeking into BB's spawn at this point, and players like Odd really know how to make use of the cart as protection in order to clear it against greater numbers, and now has the dash, has control of the outside of triangle, will had it until all of X move forward as one. They need to rapidly push together and make sure they can get as much movement as possible in as little time as they have. Only 26 seconds left.
This is so
and
close.
B barely has control of the cart. Finally gets a wipe. And now they're trying to hold here. Another corner. The corner master, Dazzler.
Oh man,
and low health too.
Yeah, of course. It's the trifecta. Dazzler, low health, corner, can't be beaten. But we see that less than 1% here has got to be rolled. But they've only got 5 seconds. Gummy Bear getting taken out. Can they get overtime if they can stand on it? BB wins just barely. Oh man, look how close that was. Ho ho.
A little more than one cart length away. That was tight. That was really nice. Good work by both teams. Loved to see that.
That was awesome. Here we can go ahead and take a look at the scoreboard.
What's happening here?
Here we go.
Okay, there we go.
You want to count it off, Gallum?
Sure. 3, 2, 1.
What do you count? No, you fool.
Look,
we see Odd top scoring over here, 79 and 63.
I thought the stream went down, man. I mean,
no. Castle top fragging over on X, 93 and 66. Oh man, how long have we been doing this?
Anything else? I thought everyone else was taking notes for us. This is a disaster. There we go. Now the screen quality is back on the Discord end of things. I can see what's going on.
Could you not see? That makes sense.
No, I mean I could see it a little bit, but then you kind of covered everything up with whatever graphics for like the scoreboard.
Look, I'm sorry, I wanted some professionality here.
Honestly, I don't know if we come here for professionality. We come here for trying, for doing our very best, and we are doing our very best. Looks like Is BB changing out players? I think they had two leave, but then Oogie Boogie came back.
Oh yeah, we see Lateralis coming in for the waterway. It looks like that's pretty
Okay,
interesting.
okay. So they have a bit of a roster switch. They actually had people over in the wings. I doubt X is going to be changing anyone out based on how long it took them to get that fifth player
Yeah, definitely.
over for Waterway. Very different map here as compared to that Payload. Very quick. It's the individual player's strength is still more highly emphasized in Domination than it is in Payload. There's
Hmm.
a lot of opportunities for one player to get into an enemy base and clog up everybody and cause all kinds of chaos. I bet players like Odd Leviathan and Oogie Boogie and Castle are going to be very good about that, about causing chaos and surviving for an impressively long time, which can really eat up a lot of the uh, kind of distance and ground coverage that each team wants to get. Because each team wants to have a priority list, really, I
Hmm.
think, of make sure you have your own base. If you got that, make sure you have B or have someone distracting the enemy so you can get B. Once you have your own base in B, then you just move forward, you flood. You make sure you get that enemy base locked in tight. And having a disruptor in the base is going to make that very difficult. I bet both
Yeah.
teams are really going to make sure they have a disruptor up as often as possible.
Yeah, and I mean they definitely have players that are used to it. We see a lot of times from these players like Odd, Lateralis, Castle. They're very comfortable being fast. They're very comfortable being in your face. They're very comfortable taking space and doing what they need to do. I mean, you said it best. Clogging the enemy is really huge and really effective over on Waterway. Possibly more than any other map in the whole of Hyperdash.
Yeah.
So I hope that we can see that come through. Castle Classic together and Gummy Bear. Honestly, I mean this whole team, all these teams are really skilled players, and I think they're all really capable of doing something so amazing. Here, Moist give a nice little kiss to the camera.
Thank you, Mark.
Hopefully teams are going to be ready here in a second. Looks like X is done doing their little pregame chats and is bullying Odds team to come over.
And Odd, responding to the bullying, trying to protect his team from the mean castle, talking down to them. It looks like Odd, at least individually, is ready. I wonder if he's going to get the rest of his team to meet up here in the mill. Because it looks like discussions are over at this point. People are just messing around, and that's fair. That's fair. That was a high stress match. That was very close.
Definitely.
Both sides. I don't have any strong position for the next match here. I hope that BB wins because I love seeing Control Point, especially out of mixed teams like this. Control Point can be a really fun back and forth type of map.
Hmm.
Uh, just by the nature of how it works and how even the best strategy for it is still just go for the middle and try to win it.
Just send
Uh,
it.
exactly. So I'm hoping I'm just gonna put my cards down for BB straight up. The last match was close enough, and I want BB to win hard enough. I'm saying they're gonna win here. They've got some solid players here. They've got some decent mix between in your face and long ranged shots, which is important for how open Waterway is. I think these guys are gonna take this map. It'll be close though, like 3-2 or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna go the whole 25 minutes or anything. I'm expecting a lot of aggression here.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? Honestly, maybe it's just to be cool, maybe it's just to be me, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think X could pull this out. X had some good coordination and such over on the payload, but I think BB just had a little bit more, on the defense rather than the offense. Usually, you see really good coordination on the offense, and then as defense, you do what you can. But usually, teams are better at defending when it comes to coordination than offense. But it looked like BB actually was better at doing the defense. Um, but over here on the waterway, I think that defenses like that don't really hold up as much, and it will kind of let X do their whole potential, do what they wanted to do in the payload. They won't be cut down as much. They have killers, really good killers over on their team. Like I was saying, BB had a lot of variation in their weapons that they could pick up. They had a lot of explosives over on that side, and now they did bring in Alice, which I believe is really good at pistols and is usually a pistol sniper over on Waterway. But I think X possibly could have a bit more killing power, and killing power generally is prioritized when you're playing on Waterway.
Yeah. So I guess the only way that we're going to know for sure is to wait and see. Once both these teams are all ready, it looks like Castle's giving thumbs up to everyone in the lobby before he goes ahead and starts it up. We, the casters, doing the classic zoom in and out. And here we go, BB versus X. Draft League.
Draft League.
The opener here, even more important on Domination than on Payload. Looks like Lateralis going to be opening up the bottom here, riding that bottom rail all the way to B, tries to get it clear on it before moving forward. This is a really interesting way to play the bottom here. Nobody really rushing straight into the enemy base. Comparatively to how a lot of other teams end up playing this map, that was a pretty slow open by both sides. Classic Scout gets a hit on that button, but Oogie Boogie good with the follow-up. BB doesn't have their own base, though. They only had X's base and B, so they didn't get any sort of countdown. Not like it would have mattered because Oogie Boogie was good with the follow-up, and we've been watching his POV. He's playing very defensively. X trying to get something done in the enemy base before they have control of B, and trying to get control of B in the midst of all that. Good clear by Castle, who's now trying to move up to the button, and they're getting a countdown. Are they going to hold it, though? Tries to get a kill on On, who misses the button. Oh, that hold didn't quite work out. That would have been a point, though, if that was a full hold, if they didn't give any opportunity for the button to raise. BB is really on the back foot at this point, just based on that. That was close for an early point for X.
Definitely. That was a good job. And we see that X, still not letting off on the aggression. We see one BB member, you could barely see him sneaking in on the bottom rail over to X's base, but we see a lot of, man, I should eat my words here. BB is getting a point down. This might be it. Just barely counters at their own base in B. Let's take a look at someone who's not pistol sniping, get a little bit of look forward. Gummy Bear pushing up on B, trying to enter the enemy base, gets taken out by Oogie Boogie. Classic pistol sniping, hogging the camera. We see Lateralis sneaking into the enemy base, getting a nice little count on their point, but not quite a countdown total for the map. They still need B. It looks like Lateralis is waiting for it. Takes Castle out. That's huge. Is going to go and hold the button. This might be it.
And with Stubbs, that was a quick first point by BB. Wow.
Dang, that was really solid.
BB. Now this opener, if we saw last time, it was a little bit in favor of X. We'll see if they can really lock it in for this next one. Is BB going to be able to counter the aggression on bottom B? Or is Lateralis just going to sneak straight through the bottom? Is anybody there to stop him? He's going to go straight for X's point. Tries to get a kill here on Castle before hitting the button. And now BB just doesn't have B. And doesn't have their own point. It's only Lateralis in X's base. What's he going to do?
What a wasted great push. Dang. Gets taken out.
Gets taken out by Gummy Bear. RIP. And now BB has control of both their own base and of BB's base. Or X has control, rather. I'm not sure exactly what I said. This match has been so rapidly back and forth. There's a lot going on here. Castle's now trying to sneak into BB's base, rides the rail for just a little bit too long. Oogie Boogie able to take him out. Very good on the defense here. You were talking about how the defense isn't quite as significant on Waterway as it is for Payload. Oogie Boogie's really trying to prove that wrong here. He's been bouncing all over the base. I don't know if he's been very aggressive, honestly. I think him combined with Odd Leviathan, they just set up at the same time and make sure nobody can get anything solidly done. And it's when they try to move out that sometimes X is able to punish that movement if it's not perfectly coordinated. I liked that attempt at a hold on B, but Odd was just a little bit too quick and accurate there. Now BB is able to respawn.
Yeah, it's hard to know when you have to hold the button versus when you have to focus on kills. A bunch of teams have a bunch of different strategies. Some of them only hold at 3, some of them only hold at 2, some of them hold as soon as they can, and they all have different pros and cons, and it's really dangerous because as soon as you're holding that button, basically all you're trying to do is be a meat shield for that button. You're trying to just take the bullets and waste time. So you have to really maximize how much time can you waste versus how many kills do you need to maximize the time that you can waste. It's really difficult in a high-level play, and we can see that it's hard to pull off even for these really veteran players. But we see that these teams are doing pretty good at playing coordinated. Like you were saying, the defense over by Oogie Boogie being followed up by all the forwards. We see Lateralis and Odd trying to push forward here. Odd now sneaking into the enemy base, but gets taken out. And now we see a countdown for X. There's only Oogie Boogie up, but he counters. Oh, that was
counters
close.
on his own point, too. That's perfect. And now the rest of BB is able to respawn and follow up. I don't think X is going to get a point here. honestly. There's just too many red players left alive. Unless they're able to get 2 holds here. Oh no, that was so close. And now there's still 4 BB players left. That would have been amazing. What a switcheroo. Now BB has control of their own base and of B. Odd Leviathan trying to slowly plod forward. Maybe get a kill so he can get another dash. Takes out Castle, his teammate. Doesn't have to pick anything up off the ground, though, for this one. That's fun to see. And Snarples takes him out. What?
X
Where'd
getting
that
a
one come
score.
from? I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at Odd. And Odd must have been doing the same thing. He wasn't ready for that score.
That was
Wow.
an amazing score. Now we see that it's 1-1, kind of going to what you were talking about of no one's really going to dominate this. If there's going to be a win, it's probably going to be a 2-3 or a 1-3. You know, it's going to be close. It's going to be difficult. But we're already seeing another countdown from X, and there's only Oogie Boogie up. He's probably going to counter at their own base, but can they hold it? Oh, not quite. That was a close call.
That opener by X has been very solid. BB really needs to watch out and make sure that they can't get anything done that quickly again. Odd not able to secure the kill on Snarples, and now X, despite the fact that BB has point B, has a little bit of control and sway, moving back and forth. They might be able to get solid control of B here, especially with Castle being the one moving forward, but Odd, good follow-up, takes out Snarples.
Ooh, nice
Held the button
headshot
for
focus
a
by
little
Odd
too
there.
long. Now he's following up back on his own base, trying to take out, who is that? Is that Classic Scout? Well, it looks like someone got the kill on whoever it was, and now there's just one player left over in BB's base. Odd Leviathan making sure that there's no dashes left for anyone to steal. Now trying to grab that bottom one. It looks like this might be a solid push for BB depending on the timing. They have control of X's base. X trying to get it back, but Odd trying to solo most of X at this point. It's taken up by Castle.
Never a good sign when you have to solo the entire enemy team. But
Not a good time for the follow-up, yeah.
sometimes that's just how Waterway is. Waterway, you don't necessarily need to get all the kills. Sometimes you can really get away with running up and down and left and right and just trying to avoid everyone and bide time until your team can come and follow up. But like you were saying, I mean, I'm not sure that we're going to see much of a score from any team here in the next minute or so, just because they're both being so good at countering each other. We see 2X over in mid B here, probably going to push out into the enemy base. You like being in the bottom B here because you can kind of sneak into the enemy base, be a little more undetected, unless you're Classic and take every engagement and try to shoot someone in the back while you're riding. But here we see Classic sneaking into the enemy base right in their basement, taking their dashes, both of their healths. That's going to really do some nice damage to them in terms of, you know, just pickups. And now we see only Stubbs is up. Can he counter? They're going to see double hold by X here, and that's a point for X.
That's it. He tried to
worse.
barely make it up to his own button, but couldn't quite get it done. He's stuck in the basement. That's
Yeah.
too bad.
Unfortunate.
And now X has the advantage here, 2-1. This is looking very solid for them, and based on how their openers have been, this might be the third point that they need. It looks like BB's finally getting their own button immediately, and trying to get control of X's base isn't quite able to do it. In fact, X has flipped the script and doesn't have control of their own button, but has control of B and BB's base. So many B's going on here. Very difficult for me to say. But like a little bit of a tongue twister, a fun tongue twister. Looks like Oogie Boogie might have lagged out there, and Castle took him out, taking advantage of that, trying to make sure that Board Bias can't leave their own spawn. Unfortunately, doesn't matter if Board Bias can't leave their own spawn. They have control of B, and X tries to turn around and take it, but loses control of Board Bias's base, who then got a countdown very briefly. It looks like both teams have control of the other team's base, and it's now just a battle of who can get control of their own base first, with less players available to do so. It looks like that might be Board Bias, but Castle's still alive.
Oh, Castle dominating, and now we see only Lateralis and Dez up. It does get a nice little counter there. But X is pushing. They are not going to go down without a fight. We see Castle there soloing a lot of the BB's members. Now we see one blue member. I can't tell that Classic gets taken out, but was in the enemy base. And we see that a lot of BB is stuck in their own base right now, but they're still getting a countdown. We saw 2 or 3 BB in their own base, but still they're getting some in the enemy base. And now we see that there's 4X in the same base with Oogie Boogie. Absolutely insane with the pistol sniping. Wow.
Yeah, you can see why he's been on defense for so long. He's been very solid with those long-range engagements. That was across the entire map. He got 2 solid kills on the row. Lots of body shots. It looks like Board Bias has control of X's base, especially with Oogie Boogie there bouncing around. But Board Bias doesn't have control of their own or of B. We're in the same situation we were last time, just from the opposite base's perspective, with Oogie Boogie set up there, trying to kill a few of the X players who turned around and didn't engage him, except for Snarples, who did and got punished for it, it seems. Oogie Boogie trying to do a little bit of economy damage, taking out those dashes, making sure to hold the button too at the appropriate time. It looks like Castle was just about able to follow up in time, and Odd trying to get something done by himself, but I don't think he'll be able to do it. And he tried to bounce into the basement, wasn't quite able to escape in time though. Oogie Boogie playing a lot more aggressive. I think Board Bias has changed their strategy slightly now that they're at a points disadvantage. They know they have to play aggressive with every single player they have available. And now they're all trying to move forward, get control of every single button all at once. Is this going to be a countdown? It looks like X is in Board Bias's base, and that's not going to be possible.
That was really close, but yeah, I mean, you put it well that you know, whenever you're down like this and the enemy is only 1 point away from leaving or winning, you have to kind of just say, okay, what are we doing wrong? We got to really step up our game here. We're not going to allow them to get this 1 point, because it's a mind game. It is stressful for BB to have to get 2 points, especially when X is getting a countdown here. Can't quite get it, but when X is getting countdown after countdown and you're 2 points behind and they're 1 away from winning, you really have to play drastically. You have to be in the enemy base. Nice snipe by Stubbs there on the castle. But you have to play a little bit risky, a little bit, you know, in the enemy base and do as much as you can, because you cannot afford to play turtle. You cannot afford to play slow. You really need to be in there doing work, making sure that every life you have counts. And BB is struggling to do that with how much XX is getting. Just X is getting some nice countdowns here. Wow.
What was that?
That was crazy.
Odd counted on his own button, quickly dashed forward, and Gummy Bear just held the trigger down, taking out 2 of Board Bias's players, and now X has the space to be moving forward, but doesn't quite have the control of Board Bias's base. There's just too many players locked in there. Are they going to be able to get a point there with how long it took Odd Leviathan to be able to dash up? It looks like this might be just enough of an advantage.
Oh!
Good hold by Moist.
Oh.
And X takes it. 2 maps to 0.
That was really close, but wow. You know, I think, you know, my prediction is right. So everyone in the chat can just drop Willow's better than Gollum, and, you know.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. My team had more heart than X did. That's what I'm going to say. I wanted them to win harder, so therefore we win the emotional victory here. But of course, X taking the actual win. Castle top scoring 44-22, 10,000 points over on his team. Very impressive, reaching that 10,000 mark. Odd Leviathan 27-37, 9,800 points over on his team. Also top scoring. Both of the captains and ARC players doing very well for their own teams.
Yeah, that's what you'd expect to see. I do find it interesting that Castle both outkilled and outscored Odd, but you have to note that hitting buttons does give you more points than kills. So even though Castle outkilled him a lot, the fact that their scores were so close meant that Odd was in there doing work, hitting buttons, trying to play the objective as much as he could. But it just ultimately seemed that, yeah, I mean, X could pull out the kills and X could pull out the kind of coordination. X was a lot more comfortable in BB's base than BB was in X's base, and I think that ultimately led them to get the win there.
So it looks like we're going to be going ahead and playing a control point for this third map here. X in the discussion room, trying to figure out their strategy, I guess, having a little bit of a conversation between Castle and Classic Scout. Alone in the meeting room, I guess. And the rest of X is out, maybe harassing Board Bias a little bit. And I'll be interested to see who's the main button for each team. That's a strategy we've been seeing bouncing back and forth. Some teams like to just kind of move forward and anybody can have control of it. Some teams, a lot of teams, have one player who, in particular, gets some dash priority and gets to move in and kind of has priority over the button itself. Because what's surprisingly important about this map is how important focus on the objective is. Of course, every single map you want focus on the objective. You want to be focusing on the buttons in Domination. You want to have someone on card at all times in Payload. But it's easy with how quick the respawn time is, how short the distance is to the button, for players a lot of the time to lose focus on that and focus on kills and maybe trying to distract players away. But really just keeping enough players around the button itself, which I'm sure is something that Castle's talking about, is very important for attaining victory here, for grabbing as much time as possible, because as long as the button is in your control, that timer goes up. Once it hits 300, you win. You
Yeah.
take the win. It doesn't matter how close the other team is to that 300. If you get it first, that's it. So you'll see a lot of button holding. You'll see a lot of players just sticking around there, not going out of their way for kills. And sometimes you'll see a dedicated player, like one player in particular, moving out of their way, just focusing on clearing the button, making sure respawning is hard for the other team. But honestly, I'll be interested to see which team's able to get control of that central button area and keep control of it as long as possible.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
best.
I'm also very intrigued to see how this is going to go. I have a feeling one of these teams is going to try to maybe spawn camp the other a little bit. With control point, it's very, it's almost like the waves of the ocean of just like how you get a kill, you kill all 5 together, and then they all 5 come back. Natural group ups are just like inevitable on control point to an extent because of how small the map is, how often everyone is all in the same place. And so with that, if you get the team wipe on the enemy team, a lot of times players will push out and they'll try to counter the common routes that the enemy takes to get to the button and kill them before they can even see it. But this kind of has catch-22 of now you're away from the button, you're not there, you're not able to press it. Even if you're out there getting kills, if the enemy has the button, even for just a few seconds, that's not only a few seconds towards the enemy winning, but that's a few seconds away from you winning. Every second that you'll see a lot of times that players will make these snap decisions where, okay, should I go for a bunch of kills here, or should I just hit the button, die, but my life will be worth about 3 seconds on the scoreboard, because I'll give my team 1.5 seconds and I'll take away 1.5 seconds from the enemy. And it's really hard decision to make, and I think often that's why teams play with this primary button, because they always have the decision made for them, right? They know what they're doing and they know how they're going to do it.
Yeah. At this point, we're just waiting for board bias to get that 5th player in here. Looks like they might have someone in mind in the wings who they just brought in. They have their 5th player now. Looks like, was that Stubbs who just joined? I can't tell if the API that we have up is based on like the order of joining the lobby or something like that.
I'm not sure. I think it is. Maybe. To be honest, I think it's just based off of how Hyperdash does it. I really don't know how Hyperdash does it, but it does look like Stubbs is in here. I think Stubbs was in for the last one, was he? Or was it Snarples? I think maybe got replaced by Stubbs there. No, Snarples on the other team. I don't know what I'm talking about. But each team's got 5, and that's what matters. And here we go.
And we're gonna go ahead and start this Draft League. Looks like we got 3 players dedicated to the shotgun side over on X's team, trying to lock down Board Bias's dash, and Castle getting taken out by Odd. That's very significant because then he's able to get the flank on Gummy Bear, and now Board Bias has solid control of the button here. You can see they got a kill on Classic Scout, and they had many players ready to follow up, and now Odd feels comfortable moving out and taking a few rotations to try and get kills in spawn camp before returning to the button, importantly. And now X is a little bit of solid control here. Now they have a more solid control. The more seconds that go by, the more seconds X has to respawn and make their way back towards the button. I like this hopping in and out during fights to make sure that blue team has control of the button as often as possible, and that's how they've been able to catch up after that initial opener in which Board Bias had a lot of control, and they've almost got the advantage here, but Board Bias just not quite letting that happen. Castle turns around just in time to get a few kills on the button, but X is still slightly behind Board Bias. Are they going to get control of the button now? Odd Leviathan not able to secure this kill. Oh no, he was chasing him for so long. Just couldn't quite get it, and gets taken out by Castle, who's about to try and steal Board Bias's dash, I think, if his team is able to get control of the button, which they have right now. Now Castle is over in a flank spot, trying to make sure that Odd isn't able to steal his team's dash, which he did anyways, and that's huge because it's going to make the approach towards the button for X a lot more difficult, and Board Bias is able to keep up this lead.
Looks like Castle steals it, though. Oh, they steal each other's dashes. I love when that happens, because now each team is back to 0, right? Oh, man.
Yeah. It's really important to be keeping in mind all the back and forth trades in the kills and also in the resource management aspect of things. If you steal the enemy team's dash, you feel so good. You're like, all right, I could just go back to the button and not worry about it. But then if the other team steals your dash, you're back to a net zero. Both teams have gotten that dash resource that's so important for use around the button specifically. That was a nice headshot trade there. I love to see that. The bullets take a few seconds or a few milliseconds to reach their target. That's just enough time for trades like that to happen. Looks like Board Bias starting to eke out a little bit of a lead, but X has been good about keeping their eyes on the clock and making sure that lead doesn't grow too far. Stubbs also good about playing around the button. I liked that trade back and forth with just control of the button. Not worrying about the kills quite as much. But now X has solid control and the lead, finally, for the first time in this match.
But it's so close. I mean, you know, neither team has taken a lead more than, like, what, 5, maybe 10 seconds for a few seconds. I mean, I don't think I could have predicted how close this control point was going to be. You know, based off of how dominant that waterway was and how dominant kind of that payload was, both teams here obviously have a lot of skill, but generally, whoever is good at waterway, a lot of those skills transfer towards control points. So a lot of people would guess that X would automatically win the control point because they won the waterway. But it seems like this is just so insanely close. I think BB, kind of going back to that coordination that they've been able to pull off, BB has been really good about keeping a lot of people around the button, keeping a lot of eyes on it, and keeping a lot of people pressing the button, while X is kind of dominating more on the kill side. We see here X has been dominant for the past 20 seconds or so, just in terms of kills, even though BB has able to hit the button quite a lot in that time.
Yeah, Castle bouncing around the button there, making sure that no one on Board Bias is able to set up. Style Dev goes in, hits the button, tries to draw attention away from it too, which works briefly when he's able to dash in and dash out. A lot of the X players are forced to look away from the button and try and shoot at something else. They aren't able to dash in there. They might even use up some of their dashes just during a fight. That's the strength of a good button player. Able to dash in, hit the objective, dash away, and waste everybody's time. And now BB has pretty solid control of the button. This might be their opportunity to get the lead back in their favor. Stubbs goes ahead and takes an entire mag from Snarple and then just turns around and glocks him. Takes out Moist too, and that's the dash resource away from the X for the next 10 seconds. And now BB has taken the lead because of this. They've just been camping out on the dash. Castle finally turns around and takes those two out and is now slowly moving his way towards the button, trying to get some sort of advantage in favor of his team, but it's still back and forth. And Board Bias is slowly losing control of the button because of it, and now X has the advantage and might get the button timing in their favor, but a lot of Board Bias is able to follow up, and they've been really focused on the button here. And in trying to steal resources away from X is really working in that advantage, and that's how they're able to get ahead at this point in the match. After so long of X being 10, maybe even occasionally 15 seconds ahead, they've been able to catch up because of all the fighting that was going around that dash pickup, and now it's scrappy. It's back and forth. Neither team quite has the opportunity to steal resources from the other. All they can really do is desperately move into the button and then try to take out killer players like Castle or Odd over on Board Bias's side, and then steal resources from each other when they have the opportunity. But Board Bias still trying to get control of the button back as often as they can. It looks like Odd's going to try and take that dash, desperately moves in to try and hit the button, get a few kills, try and clear it up for the rest of his teammates to follow up, misses the button, and X had solid control there for a second, but now is back and forth. Board Bias trying to get some sort of foothold, not quite able to secure anything, but is able to desperately move in and hit that button and get the second timer back in their favor. Doesn't quite have the lead because it took just a little bit too long for X to be able to follow up, and it looks like things are starting to even out just a little bit here. X has some pretty solid control of Board Bias's dash, now has solid control of the button. There's a lot of headshots going on back and forth, but X is looking more and more solidly in the lead, although it's still very close.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we see that everything's within less than 10 seconds in terms of advantages of who has what. I think definitely one of the great downfalls of X here, why they're not able to get really good holds, and why BB is able to hold their dash so effectively for so long, is that a lot of X is doing the same rollouts. A lot of them all want the dash. And so they all go there, and when you all go for the same position, you're naturally grouped up, which is nice, but it also means that you're all an easy shot. You're all together. One person can come and just kind of shoot at this biomass of people. Now we see X getting an amazing hold with all 5 people. Gets countered by a nice flank by, I believe that's Stubbs, though. But, I'd like to see X kind of doing some different rollouts. And this is where I think that kind of primary button boy that kind of is just hitting the button kind of comes in, because they get dash priority, and then other people on their team don't all go the same route. And I think that's kind of where BB is getting a nice advantage, is X can't predict where they're coming from. X can't really predict what's happening. And so BB, even though X gets these amazing holds, BB just comes in, counters it after a few seconds, and then gets button dominance. So X right now has the lead. They've just taken the lead, but again, only by a few seconds. This is insanely close. We've got less than 100 seconds left for either team to win. I mean, there's probably going to be, whatever team is going to win within probably 10 or 20 seconds of the enemy team. This is going to be really close, and the stress level is high right now.
Yeah, both teams on the edge of their seats, the tips of their toes, depending on if they're sitting or standing. It's up to them. This is VR, baby. You can do whatever you want, as long as you hit that button, which is exactly what X is trying to do. They're trying to regain some sort of control, and Castle's been really good about taking this long sightline here above the high rail, really forcing Board Bias to go out of their way to kill him, unless he leaves that position and gets taken out by players like Stubbs and StyleDev, who have been really good about moving down that left side. I think when you were talking about the variation in the movement out of spawn that X needs to do, that's something that Board Bias has done very solidly. They've been getting slightly out-killed overall, but they've been very good about varying their rollouts. Almost every single player has moved a slightly different way every single time towards that button, towards that objective. And that's how they've been able to stay in it so well. Although X is really starting to pull ahead on this most recent hold. I wonder if they've been able to take the dash away from Board Bias. Board Bias finally takes out Castle, I think, at one point, and now has control of the button. Took out all of X, and X is going to move forward like a wave, hopefully. Board Bias is prepared for this wave, really trying to set up a wall here with players like Brackers over on the ramp. Getting taken out by Castle, though, taking that alternate route. That's how important it is. It's very important. And now X almost has control of the button here. Lateral is trying to get something done along with Stubbs. And now Board Bias has control of the button once again. They're almost caught up at this point, only 8 seconds behind.
Cool. They caught up from what was that? Almost a 30-point disadvantage, and now they're only less than 10 seconds behind the enemy team. But right now, X needs 25 seconds to win. This is insanely close. BB is going to have to really pull it together, put some serious button focus forward. They cannot let X get even a few seconds at a time here. They're only 10 seconds behind, true, but they're still 30 seconds away from winning. Meanwhile, X is only 20 seconds away from winning. And we see that, their button boy kind of gets taken out here, and now we see X is dominating just a little bit. Odd, getting some really, really nice movement there, but they missed the button. Oh no, that's going to cost them a few seconds, and right now, 13 seconds till X wins, and we still got 20 seconds till BB can possibly take the lead here, but now only 10 seconds for X. This is so close. 15 seconds for BB. We're getting, everything here is right close. We see 2 BB getting around the button, gets taken out. Nice StyleDev hitting the button, holding it down. The lead is almost back into BB's, 2 seconds away from the lead. Now they're both 5 seconds away from winning. This is so insanely close. Odd right at the button. They're 3 seconds away from winning, but can they take it?
They need to hold it. They gotta hold the button. They can't bounce back and forth.
What?
Sound in a second. Board Bias wins. They take it. Last second from behind. They eke out a win there. That was well done.
That was so insanely close. Oh my. That 3 seconds away from taking it. X just barely losing that, but man, was it close. Let's take a look at this control point scores.
Odd Leviathan top scoring in his team with 1,300 points. Extra focused on the button in this map. And 61 kills, 32 deaths. Very nice KD on top of that. Castle over on X. Things generally a little bit more spread out. 65 kills, 29 deaths, 10,000 score. Classic Scout also reaching that 10,000 mark. That was very well done by both teams. Loved to see that back and forth throughout the entire match. Never really knew who exactly was going to win.
Yeah, for sure. I just also realized that Iron and Fire's logos were there. I thought I removed them. I only removed them from part of the behind the scenes, I guess. So no, this was between BB and X. Ignore those nice little logos. But yeah, I mean, congratulations to BB. That was really close. Looks like the server goes down here. They're quick to kill it. But man, thank you everyone for joining. That was an insanely close game, and that was really fun to cast, really fun to watch. I hope that you guys had as much fun watching as we did casting it.
I've been Notgollum.
And I have